Okay, we are back with some quick math. We are doing some algebra. This is grade 11, grade 12 content. Okay, this is a level 4 question. Um, Only because you've never seen it before, but now that you've seen it, it's going to become easy. Okay, so first thing that we are going to do here is we're going to multiply. Well, not multiply, we're going to square both sides. Okay, so on our left hand side, we have the square root of m plus the square root of n. And on our right hand side, we have 7 plus square root of 48. Right, all of that under the root. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, maybe we can just put this in another color because we are inserting this, is to square both sides. So square this side and square this side as well. Right, so once both sides are squared, let's check what we've got. On the left hand side, so hopefully you know how to square a bracket. Okay, so I'm not gonna write out the two brackets and do the whole FOIL thing. I'm expecting that you can do that, but I know if a bracket is squared, it's going to be the first one squared. So my square root of m, that's going to get squared, leaving me only with m. I know it's going to be my last one squared. Okay, so my last one squared will be square root of n gets squared, and that's going to leave me with n. First one squared, last one squared, and then first times last times 2. Okay, so it's going to be square root of m times square root of n. Let me just write that for you quickly. Square root of m times square root of n. Okay, so that's first times last, and then all of that times 2. Now we should know that if you have the same root, so both of these are square roots and they are multiplying, then we can multiply the values under the root, so the m times the n. Okay, so my first term again, okay, first one squared, last one squared, and the middle term, well, we generally write it in the middle, I'm going to write it on the end now, is first times last, so that's going to give me this. First times last times 2. Okay, first times last times 2. So they are squared my left hand side. My right hand side, the square root is just going to cancel with the square. So I'm going to end up with a 7 plus the square root of 48. Okay, all right, let's get rid of this for a second. Okay, so this is the first thing that I'm going to do, square both sides. Now what I want you to see is this. I have these two terms here. Let's get that back. I have these two terms here, and they are adding with my surd. Surd is the thing with the square root or the root. Okay, so if I look at my right hand side, I have a term that's adding with a surd. Okay, so what this tells me is that my two terms over here is going to equal to my constant on that side, and my surd over here will equal to my surd on that side. Okay, so now I'm going to have two equations that's going to be created, and the one's going to be m plus n equals to 7, and the other one is going to be 2 square root of m times n equals to the square root of the 48. Okay, in fact, that square root of the 48, I think we're just going to go put that in the calculator so the calculator can simplify that for us. That's going to be square root of the 48. Calculator will give us the third answer is going to be 4 square root 3. Okay, that is fine. I don't really like that form because I wanted 2. But that's fine. 4 square root 3. Okay, divide both sides with this 2 just to get rid of that 2 that's in front there. Okay, so that's going to give 2 square root 2. So on my left hand side, I have square root of mn equals 2 square root 3. So now we've got these two equations over here, this one and this one. Okay, maybe even let's get rid of, let's not take that second equation. We can square both sides over here. Square this, square that. So I'm going to have m times n is equal to 12. All right, so let's say this again. Now I have these two equations. Okay, so you've got the equation m plus n is 7, and you have the equation m n equals 12. So you have options now, okay? Because now remember, you have two different variables, and you have two equations, so you could solve this simultaneously. That's perfectly fine. I am going to do this slightly different. because I've seen it done differently. That's the only reason I'm doing it differently. But if you want to go do it simultaneously, you should end up with the same answers as well. Okay, but I'm just checking, what do I want to end up with? I want to end up with this over here, which is m squared plus n squared. Okay, so I want to have m squared plus n squared. That's what I want. Okay, now I'm just remembering that if I have a bracket squared, then it's normally the first one squared, the last one squared, and first times last times 2. Okay, so what I'm saying is, if I have a bracket squared and maybe m plus n is inside my bracket, if m plus n gets squared, it's going to produce m squared plus n squared, and then in the middle is going to be m times n times 2. Okay, so that is something that we know, right? So why do I want that? Because the question wants me to have an m squared and an n squared. So I can have that if I just get rid of this one. Okay, so I'm going to manipulate this. I'm going to say m squared, m squared plus n squared. And my right hand side, what do I have? I have m plus n. All of this is squared minus my 2mn. Right, that's mn. Okay, so on my left hand side, this is what the question is asking me to solve. Oh, that we need that. This is what the question is asking me to solve. So if I can simplify this right hand side with like actual values, then I would have answered my question. So let's go look back at the two equations that we've created. We know m plus n, that's over there, right? We know m plus n, that is 7. So this is going to be 7 squared minus, we know m times n is 12. So that's going to be 2 times 12. 7 squared, that is still 49. 2 times 12 is 24. And if we subtract that, we get 25. Okay, so there's the solution to our question. I guess the only thing that you did have to do was come up with these equations. Then you had options. You could either do what I've done over there, or you could have also then just solved it simultaneously. Okay, but this is a nice question. This is a level 4 question. Look at these kind of questions so that the next time you do see it, it becomes much easier for yourself.